dispensationalism says is that God deals with his people differently according to sanctification and or holiness throughout time. So you have Israel dealing with God dealing with Israel rather, and his holiness through the Torah. However, once Christ comes, now we're in a new dispensation. The Torah is no longer relevant. Now it's a dispensation of grace, and God relates to his people in terms of sanctification through grace. There are plenty, and I do mean plenty, of verses that are going to say that this isn't true. Malachi 3:6, for I, the Lord your God, do not change. Therefore you, O children of Jacob, are not consumed. Psalm 33:11, the counsel of the Lord stands forever, the plans of his heart to all generations. Hebrews 6:17. So when God desired to show more convincingly to the heirs of promise the unchangeable character of his purpose, he guaranteed it with an oath. Isaiah 31:2. And yet he is wise and brings disaster. He does not call back his words, but will arise against the house of the evildoers and against the helpers of those who work iniquity. Psalm 102:26 through 27. They will perish, but you will remain. They will all wear out like a garment. You will change them like a robe, and they will pass away. But you are the same, and your years have no end. So my point here is simply this: God's holiness does not change, and therefore we cannot relate to him differently in holiness. If it's an abomination to God to eat unkosher food in one period, it has to be an abomination to God in another period, because God does not change. His holiness does not change. Therefore, we're not consumed. So the point is dispensationalism does not work. Beyond this, the idea or the notion that there's some 40-year intertestamentum period in between the dispensation of law and the dispensation of grace is simply not biblical. Show me any evidence whatsoever, except for the fact that
it reminds me of the claim of the Mishnah that, today, the 9th of Av, is the day that the spies, it came back and God decreed that they would be in the wilderness for 40 years because of their disobedience. It's the day that Solomon's temple was destroyed. It's the day that the Romans destroyed the second temple, right? It's like everything's got to be set up as like a religious kind of time frame. And so it reminds me of that. It's like it's an artificial construct to help people organize their thinking about the Bible.
Well, to me, but
it leads, but it's not based on reality, and that's the problem. It's like we have to discern the difference between the Word of God and the traditions of men, and this is a crazy imposed framework.
To me, what's happening is you have people who say, well, my argument against Torah doesn't work according to the Bible, so I'll make something up. The only evidence for it biblically is that my argument doesn't work unless I make it up. So clearly, since I believe that the Torah has been done away with, I have to, that's the proof. The Torah has been done away. It's circular reasoning.
That's
the Torah has been done away with.
The starting point is that it can't be this, therefore I must find some other thing that answers the difficulties.
Exactly. So if anyone ever brings up to you the idea, and Mike's right, intertestamental is reference to the period between the writing of the two testaments, Old and New. I completely agree with you. I think that this person used this term incorrectly. Intertestamental period usually references the time period between the writings of the apostolic scriptures and the writing of the end of the writing of the Tanakh, which is about 300 to 500 years, depending. And so anyway, the point here is simply this: the person used the term wrong, but they're attempting, and I've heard this argument from dispensationalists before, though. So the point is they're trying to come up with some way that they can sweep under the rug that Paul went to the temple and that the apostles are in the temple, and they're still not spitting on the cross of Christ. But anyone who says that the temple might return or that we should be keeping the Torah, they're spitting on the cross of Christ. So anyway,